All right, guys. Well, it's 10:03, so we'll go ahead and get started here. So first of all, I'm going to go. Let me minimize this here and bring up our agenda. So I'm going to kind of go back and forth as the Zoom host between our agenda, and then when we need to, I'll bring up the SCiDUC webpage. But as we kind of get started here, guys, I want to just welcome everybody. We're in this new reality with COVID and everything, and our quarterly meetings are Zoom, which is it's not ideal, and I'm looking very much forward to when we get to meet together and if not actual shake hands, at least see each other say face to face and have a little bit more of the in-person discussion. But we're not there yet. We probably won't be there to the next quarterly meeting, but my internal optimistic self says the one after that we will. But we'll see how all that goes. So we've got a tight agenda here. From a very high level, you can kind of see what we've got going on today, and who's going to be presenting at item number 5 is really, I'm excited, and I'll do a better introduction here in a moment. But Bentley Systems is a sponsor of ours and has been very generous with supporting us with not only financially but access to software. You probably have seen some emails from me about that. And we have a guest with us, Kurt Rasmussen. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Close enough.
Close enough. Yeah, I get my last name's Burgett, and it's not spelled like that, so I get kind of a lot of variations too. But anyways, Kurt's going to give us a quick demo, hopefully to kind of whet your appetite for what this software can do. Which, by the way, all of you guys as SCiDUC members have access to for an educational purpose. So if you want to try this out, that's kind of the hope, is to kind of give you kind of quick demo of what it can do. And maybe a month or so, we'll do a little bit longer of a webinar. But in the meantime, if you want to play around with it and try it out, it's a really outstanding piece of software. So more on that in a few moments here, where I can do a better job of introducing. So thank you guys for being here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the conversation over to Uwe. And do you mind walking us through some of the things that have developed since the last time we had our quarterly meeting?
Yeah, no problem. This is going to be kind of short, but good morning, everybody. First of all, we'll start off with that. But the first thing that we wanted to talk about was the 501c3 status. And, well, there's not a whole lot to talk about with that. I know we submitted everything, a couple months ago, and we're still waiting on the IRS to respond. And, as of this morning, Joe emailed me and said we're still in that same situation. So, we're still waiting, but that doesn't mean that, we don't have our nonprofit status for the state of South Carolina. We do have that in place. It's just we're waiting on the IRS portion of it to come through. So that's kind of it with that. Moving on, if nobody has any questions about that, we'll move on to the Skycast thing. And, I hope everybody takes the opportunity to look at these Skycasts and, go back and look at them again, even, because there's a lot of good information out there. And of course, things change a lot. So I want to, before I forget, just to throw this out there, if anybody has any ideas for future Skycasts, please let us know. If you want to participate in one, do you know some organization, some topic, that would be of interest, just send us an email. And when I say us, that means Joe and me or anybody on the board or whatever, and we'll, look at that, because we do need to have those out there, because they're of a tremendous benefit and, a good learning opportunity. And, I can say that about the last the webcast that we had, the Skycast, and, with Lieutenant Colonel Chris Peterson. I hope everybody had a chance to look at that, the Civil Air Patrol one. And the reason for that is not very many people know about the history of the Civil Air Patrol and what it is that they exactly do. And I'm one of those folks until I watched that Skycast. So it was really enlightening. And I hope you get a chance to take a look at it. And I may end up going back and looking at it again, because some of the things I've kind of forgotten about. So that's one of the great things about having it out there on the web. We can always go back and take a look at it. So, one of the things I do want to make sure that everybody understands is, we do need topics and things that we can share. And it's good to get that from the membership, because that way we know what it is that you're interested in. So please, you know, give us a shout if you come up with anything. What was the next one here? Let me look here. I didn't want to get out of agency logo initiative. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that thing, I think it kind of petered out after a little bit here. You know, we have 49 agencies that are a member of SCiDUC, and we had 26 agencies that responded in the affirmative that, you know, yeah, go ahead and post our logos out there. And so we did that. And, you know, you go to the website, you see it up there on your screen now, you see all the logos going through there, and, you know, they'll be moved around from time to time, you know, particularly if we get a new logo that comes in, you know, we need to kind of rearrange things to get everything to fit. So, you know, if your logo's not at the top of the list at this time, you know, be patient. It'll kind of work its way around, and, you know, we'll get there at some point. But, you know, we've had 5 agencies for one reason or another that opted out of posting their logo on the site, and, you know, which is unfortunate, but I certainly understand. And then we still have 2 agencies that are out there that are still pending. So, you know, those guys that are out there pending, you know, if you would just kind of get back in touch with me and let me know, and we'll go ahead and post those logos. You know, and with that, I'm just going to say, I'm going to stop harassing y'all. I know I've been sending out emails and things like that, you know, asking about the status and kind of reminding and everything. But, you know, I think it's time now to stop all the harassment. So before y'all kind of take some other actions, you know, against me or whatever. But I do want to say too that, you know, this isn't over. If you guys, you know, any new agencies come on board, or some of those that did not respond, and you decide that you want to, you know, please go through your channels, get the permissions, and then, you know, send me an email stating it's okay to post it, and then also a copy of the JPEG file with the preferred agency logo, because there are a number of agencies out there that have several different logos, and they may prefer one over the other to be displayed on the website. So, you know, just forward all that to me, and we will get it out there on the website. And that's all I'm going to say about that one.
I think you might have jumped past the member spotlight one.
Okay, the member, I was trying to pull up the agenda there and I forgot. Okay, thanks, Joe. The member spotlight, that is another thing that we, you know, are really happy to do and proud to do, because it recognizes a number of our members and lets everybody know what it is that we're doing, you know, in the community of the UAS world, you know, and more in particular with the agency. And it's really great to recognize some folks. And, you know, we've had 6 people now, and our latest one, we want to congratulate Michelle Johnson with South Carolina Forestry Commission. She is our newest recognized person here. And I see Joe has pulled up some of the ones that for the past. And there were a couple of them since we last meet that I want to make sure we recognize as well, and that's Scott Schaefer and Sally Williams. Scott Schaefer's with, I hope I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. It's not Schaefer, I'm not sure. But anyway, with South Carolina DOT.
It's Schaefer,
and then
you
Sally
got it right.
Williams. Schaefer, okay, great. And then Sally Williams, of course, with DHEC. So I want to recognize those individuals. And I also want to throw this out there, you know, please, membership, get involved with doing this. You know, it's a great boost for people when, you know, when they are recognized. It makes them feel valued and everything. So if you have somebody that's doing something, you know, special, please, you know, short blurb. There's a place on our website that you can submit this, and it may be at the bottom of this if Joe scrolled down. I can't remember if the link is down there or not, but it is there on the website, and just submit the entry. And, you know, of course, we'll vote on it during our next board meeting, and, you know, get it out there. So it's a terrific opportunity to recognize fellow members, and I hope you take advantage of doing that. I let's see, one, I'm not sure what's next, but let's go into Drone Launch Academy. I know that was one of the
That
topics.
was the next one. Yeah, let me.
That was the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was having some issues this morning, so I had to frantically text Joe this morning to resend me the link. So I think I've got some of it straightened out. But anyway, the Drone Launch Academy, you know, that was an initiative that was started where we, as SCiDUC members, and then it also extended beyond that, that we could get $50 off the Part 107 prep course. And, you know, a portion of that, of the fee, would actually come back to SCiDUC. So, you know, it was kind of a win-win situation for members and friends of members, I guess I should say, and for us. But all of this is about to come to an end. At the end of this month, this promo will be discontinued. So, you know, if anybody's wanting to take their Part 107, go back to take, you know, after the 2-year renewal, you know, please use this if you're able to do so, because like I said, it does benefit us as well. And then plus you guys out there, it's a $50 off of the total cost.
Uwe, let me just chime in a little bit too, is you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
complete the course by then either, as all you gotta do is sign up for it. And then I think you have, I think 2 years to complete it if it ever expires. So the end here is just to take the advantage of the promo code cost, but you can take it whenever you want.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. And in case you're wondering, the promo code on there is SCiDUC. So when you do take it, you know, just type that in there and that'll work for you. So I think that was about all the topic items that I had.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So
Well,
does anybody have any questions out of any of those?
Okay. All right. Thanks, Uwe. I appreciate it.
All right. Sure.
There's one other thing I was going to mention, and I forgot to add it to the agenda, but we did add a button on here. So we're going through a process now of kind of formalizing our membership. You know, a lot of thought went into it. As SCiDUC is an open organization, and basically for you to be a member, there's no fee or anything like that. Just be a government employee working in South Carolina and just participate. But by that definition, you could be working for South Carolina and then accidentally trip over your shoelaces into a meeting and then technically be a member, you know. So we wanted to kind of formalize that process a little bit. Still open to anybody, but there was a survey that went out here recently that we got a number of responses back to kind of form, you know, just who you are and do you want to be a member, yes or no, just to kind of formalize that process. But then we also added a button up here about join now. It's a very short form where it just kind of identifies who you are and then what your subject matter expertise is. And we'll probably touch on that a little bit more when we get to the committees, but basically just formalizing your membership and making sure that we're communicating with the right people and not, you know, spamming anybody, that sort of thing. Okay, so so with that said, go on to the next item here about the nomination for board members. So, so the way our bylaws are written is that we can have a maximum of 9 board members. We currently have 8 that we had a member and just took a different position within his agency and wasn't able to commit to the board like he had wanted to. So we do have an opening right now. And I'm planting a seed with you. Our elections, the board, the membership will vote on this, but the next quarterly meeting, which will probably be in November, and with the holidays, probably the first part of November. But if you have an interest in serving on the board and getting more involved with this community, with this organization, SCiDUC, I would encourage you to reach out. The commitment is not overwhelming. We do meet, you know, once a month, and then we, you know, there's some tasks that happen outside, shepherding a committee or that sort of thing. But if you have an interest in doing that or want to have any more or just get some more information, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk you through that or what's all involved, but consider it. To nominate, self-nominations are strongly encouraged. and just a kind of a bio of who you are, and a statement of qualifications, not a novel or anything, but just a little bit about who you are and why you want to be a member. And then we'll put those together, all of the all of the nominations we get, we'll present that to the membership prior to our next quarterly meeting, and there'll be both an electronic and then a Zoom type of voting mechanism for that. So just consider that for those of you guys who are interested in maybe getting a little bit more involved. It's fun. It's a good group of people, and I enjoy it. Okay, so with that being said, let me go ahead and kick it over to Daryl for the next part of the meeting and committee updates. Daryl?
Okay, happy to be here. Hope we have some good report outs. I'll start out with the training committee. We have not had a call since our last meeting, but we have had a lot of emails back and forth. Our committee unfortunately wasn't represented at the WebEx for committee meetings back in July, so we're a little behind on that scale. We do have some things, Joe, and I need to get with you offline. We have gathered, and I'm trying to assimilate them together, a bunch of documents and reference forms that we need to include on the SCiDUC site. Most of those are risk management related, and I've drawn a lot of those documents from aviation, fixed wing and rotor wing aviation guidance that a lot of agencies use, and within the wildfire world and some of the general aviation world, there's a lot of that kind of safety documentation that we need to figure out what format it goes on the SCiDUC website with. Other than that, we are collecting some links to some other learning tools that may help. One of them being just an example, I'm wildfire, so I go that way, but SafeCom is in the wildfire world. It's where we report all kind of aviation near misses and problems, and there's a website devoted to that, all the state and federal wildfire agencies use. But if you go to that site, and I'll get you that link, Joe, to post, you can find out when someone was flying a UAS of some platform and had an issue. So the one I read yesterday was somebody training somebody accidentally flew into a van, and they debrief how that happened and what was going on and what the error codes were. And it's basically information you can use to bring in new pilots and discuss, eventualities. And so I'll share that as an example from the training committee. And I don't know if anybody else from the training committee has anything, but that was basically our report out. We still need to come up with a mission statement or a scope of work for our committee. I know that was something that was handled on the committee call that we just weren't represented on. So with that, I'll ask Jason if he's could report out on the research committee.
Yes, thank you. So the research committee, we were looking at further developing the discussion forum and identifying subject matter experts who would like to be part of answering certain questions or involved in certain conversations depending upon what the topic is. So we had developed over the last couple of months a survey that was sent out to the members, and we also used that as a mechanism to document some of the very first the earlier members. And so we sent that out. As of earlier this week, there was 65 responses, I believe. And that has since moved to any new members. We would collect that information through the website. Joe had mentioned that form before. So that's where we're at right now. We're looking at ways to now take that information and further develop that forum. Should relevant questions come in or concerns come in, the committee, part of our task will be to identify appropriate people, academics or otherwise, to help work on a problem, depending upon what problem it is. On the academic side of things, we're really good at trying to locate money and get money to solve problems. So that would be hopefully part of what the committee does. And then, a presentation of that information afterwards would be another aspect of our committee. So that's just a brief overview of where we're at and where we hope to go in supporting the larger group.
Thanks, Evan. I'm sorry, Jason. I was looking ahead. Evan, if you would like to update us on the Interagency Database and Liaison Committee.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. As Daryl mentioned, we kind of had a committee meeting prior in July, and after discussing with some of the other committee members, we realized that there was a lot of issues we were tackling that others were addressing as well. So, one of our key bullet points was taking care of a survey to judge what people had in terms of hardware, software related to their UAV programs. Kind of scaled back on that and held off for now as we kind of figure out where to go with that. But the other bullet point we're really focusing on was, kind of facilitating this collaboration, collaborative environment. And one of the ways we intended to do that was through a project sharing database. This has been done. It's been constructed in ArcGIS Online Survey 123. It's a really simple form where you can just fill out your name, your information, the type of flight you flew, whether it's just for photography or photogrammetry or video, a map that allows you to kind of show the area where you performed your flight. So I think that's something that's really promising. I think once some of the more kinks are kind of worked out of it, maybe that's something we can demonstrate at the next meeting. I'd love to do something like that, kind of spur some of this participation in it. It does need a home. It's currently on DNR's ArcGIS Online account, but maybe once we kind of formalize the the nonprofit stuff with the IRS, we can kind of work into getting a nonprofit account through Esri. So that's where we stand. I'm going to set up a meeting here, and after this, send out an email to the committee members. And we might kind of pivot a little bit and what we tackle next, but that's kind of where we stand as of now.
Thanks, Evan. Next up is the Outreach Committee, and Terry, are you on from DHEC?
I am. I'm
there
here.
You are. Okay.
Good morning. I was not able to be a part of the last meeting, the quick one there with WebEx, but I know Joe mentioned he was going to let everyone know that our group has gone from being labeled marketing to more of an outreach committee. And he asked us to identify our purpose and our initiatives. And we identified our purpose as, to promote awareness of SCiDUC and drone technology in South Carolina. And our initiative is reaching out to state and local agencies not involved with SCiDUC currently and make them aware of the group. If you have any agencies in mind, please let us know and we'll work on reaching out to them. And if you feel this outreach committee is, something that your personality fits and you'd like to join, you can let me know. We do meet the second Tuesday of every month around 3:30 via Teams. They've been really short and brief, but hopefully with, if we can grow and really start working on this outreach portion, they'll be a little more informative. One of the goals, though, that I brought up in a brief meeting with Joe and Tyler was to promote more open flight days for all of us, just a place to kind of just get together and, obviously socially distance ourselves, but, and able to, get to know each other, do a cross-agency relationship building and collaborations. I have reached out to Clemson Extension. I've talked to Kathy Coleman about maybe narrowing down a time and date to just do an open flight in Columbia, which is, I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with the field across from Sand Hills. That's part of Clemson Extension, kind of where they do the farmers market, but there's a big open field there that I'm looking to secure so we could have more space, set up some obstacles maybe, and just kind of get some flight practice in. And I'm trying to maybe promote more of those type of opportunities as well. So that's really all I have.
Thank you, Terry.
You're
Before
welcome.
you move on, let me just make a couple of comments. So, Terry, that's awesome. When you start moving forward, if you need help with either providing some training drones and batteries and NIST targets or other targets, I can certainly help with that, and it'd be my pleasure to do it. So, really, thank you very much for leading that effort. The other comment I was going to make, and that was to kind of piggyback what you're talking about, was reaching out to other folks. So just from a high level, guys, we have, our membership is around 150 or so people that have been involved in some way, shape, or form, and 60, 70 or so different agencies, which sounds like a lot, and we've made a lot of progress. But if you think about it, in South Carolina, we have 50 counties, or roughly, and within those counties, there's a boatload of cities. And I don't know, but anecdotally, I know that a lot of those municipalities are using drones, maybe kind of like Wild Wild West style, or maybe more of a formalized program. I know that we can benefit them, or we can be a resource to them. We just don't know who they are. And even though I might know, Pickens County for it, there's probably 100 people or more working there, and I don't know how to connect to them. So my point with all this is, if you have a connection, you don't have to reach out directly. If you have some email addresses or just some folks, if you can forward it to us, anyone on the board, Terry, or through the SCiDUC website, the info@sciduc.org email address, what we can do is we can send a blast email out, kind of a random email to all those folks, and say, hey, look, we're going to have a Zoom call in a month from now, and it be tailored to just those folks, just to introduce them who they are. And that might be a really good segue for us to get them involved. I don't think it's too far of a stretch that with a kind of combined effort of everyone on this call sharing their contacts with us, I don't think it's a stretch to double our membership like within a month, or 6 weeks. So, consider that. Seems like there's a lot of effort. And again, all I'm asking, and again, what Terry was talking about, is just share some contacts with us, list of email addresses, and promise not to spam them. It would be professional. Just, should be beneficial to everybody. So, so that was my comment. Thanks, Daryl.
Yep. Thanks, Terry. Scott, if you're ready, you can update us on the policy group.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great, excellent. And thanks for the segue, Joe. That actually kind of helps. All the different agencies that are out there, we're looking to try to get samples of all the pieces of information. In the policy committee or policy group, we have not met since the last time we met, I guess back in May, but we were in the July meeting, and we talked about our purpose and initiatives, basically to provide access to active policies and regulations that are within the state, but then also external groups that have mature policies. It'd be very helpful. And I'm going to send y'all my email, and then also a link email directly to our Teams channel that refers to this. So as you start gathering information on the different agencies, it'll be very helpful to get that information. Either probably a one-touch would be good, Joe, is that if y'all send information or request thoughts from them about joining SCiDUC to see if they do have policies or regulations in place. Maybe they're informal, maybe they're formal. But if we could get links to them or have some information to them, that would be very helpful. In the next few weeks, I'm going to be sending out a link for our group to meet. We want to identify the various levels to approach in searching out the documents. We already have a lot of, we have some of the federal, state, and local groups, policies, and procedures. Different municipalities would be very helpful, as Joe pointed out. There are hundreds of them out there. Whether they have anything in place or not, that's what we want to be able to help them with if they do not. And we're going to focus on gathering this information and the evolving details of agency level similarities and differences on policy. So I'm going to also be delegating some of the individuals on the committee. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 of us on the committee. And getting these lists organized and fleshed out so we can actually put them on the website so that people can access them. As pointed out, having direct links to their policies and not really providing official documents on our page is probably a good approach, or making it very clear that they need to run that through whatever, I'll just say legal document or legal groups that they need to address, because we don't want to be responsible for that. Once we get a lot of this put together, we'll send out drafts to the to whomever. Joe, would that be you? And then you can distribute it, Uwe, so that
Yeah,
people
I can be the touch point.
Yeah, just so that people can look at it, review it, and say, "Oh my God, that's the most brilliant or the most horrible thing I've ever seen." So, you know, feel free to be open and honest. I'm an academic, so I'm callous. People beat us up all the time about things we say, so no worries there. But anyway, if you have information that you can send, I'm gonna send a chat here. These are two email addresses. One is directly to me, and one is directly to our Teams channel. The Teams channel, it'll show up for all the committee. They may not appreciate that as much as I would, but anyway, any questions or thoughts? Anything that I've missed from the meeting we had at the end of July?
Sounds good, Scott.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Scott. And next is the Emergency Management Working Group. And Megan, I'm not sure if you are on. I know this call overlapped with an EMD call that started at 10. So Megan, are you available? All right. I don't think she's here, Joe. There was an overlapping meeting that conflicted, and I gave it to somebody else to handle. But we'll try and get an update from her and share it maybe through email or some other way, right, Joe?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Scott, you're on the call. I don't know if you have any updates, or we can just kind of, table it for now.
Yeah, this is Scott. We met at the obviously at the last get together, and we've had one call in between. And I think our focus has been sort of overlapping some of the other needs, is trying to define the universe of people that are involved in emergency response and being able to coordinate our activities, and to hopefully provide some succinct guidance in how to interact with your neighbors during the course of an event, whether that be, both contacting the FAA to address TFRs and get those permissions, work with EMD so we're not having any airspace issues, and knowing who your peers are in the next county, the next city over, who also may be flying, so that we can better coordinate our activities when we have an event we're trying to respond to, whether it's on a small scale or large scale. But sort of the base code for that is understanding the universe of who's flying, what they're flying, what their capabilities are, and making those connections so that we're flying together, and we know who to talk to when it's hitting the fan.
Thanks, Scott. I think that's all of our reports, Joe. I'll give it back to you.
Okay, well, good deal. Well, thank you, everybody, again, for your hard work and your commitment to the group. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Kurt Rasmussen, who's from Bentley. So let me kind of give you a little bit of background here before we kind of dive into it. So for you guys who are not familiar with Bentley, Bentley is a software producer. They have a whole suite of various different software packages. They are very big in the infrastructure world. The vast majority of DOTs across the country use their software for design and construction management. And again, they have a whole suite of packages. Recently, they have sponsored SCiDUC, as I alluded to before, financially, so that we can kind of keep doing this and keep the lights on and pay for websites and that kind of stuff. So we're grateful on that. But maybe even a bigger benefit was they've opened up their software for us to use. Now, not commercially, but for educational purposes. They've given us a server access where if you contact me, I can give you some instructions and you can download various different software. But really the one that is the one you're going to look at, if for those that are interested in drones, is likely ContextCapture. For you who are not familiar with ContextCapture, it's a great structure from motion software package. It's what I use at Clemson and what I teach at Clemson and what I use for my work. And basically what it does is it takes images, you capture images, and then it stitches it together and creates various different reality modeling. And again, you guys have access to it. And what I've asked Kurt to do is to just spend a few minutes here kind of talking through a little bit of that and providing a quick demo of what the software is, really not to explain everything per se, but kind of to whet your appetite in terms of what you have access to and what is out there and the relative ease that it takes to do some of this stuff. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over with one more saying that again, we are trying to whet your appetite, but we're going to set up maybe a longer, maybe an hour or so webinar in a month or so, something like that. We'll let you know where if you use it, you're interested, wow, this is really cool, but I have questions, or what else can it do? That'd be more of the forum to really kind of dive in deep and kind of, explain it a little bit. So with that, let me go ahead and turn it over to Kurt. Kurt, you should have control to take over to share your screen. But first of all, thank you for being here. We really appreciate you sharing your expertise and as a representative of Bentley, your support of SCiDUC.
Thank you. So I hope everybody can see my screen. I don't know if we're going to get cut off shortly, but I'll try to be as fast as I can. First, I'm going to start out opening ContextCapture. Now I have it docked in on my taskbar. ContextCapture consists of two parts. There's the center part, which is your application window that we're working on here. And then there's an engine that does all the processing through your GPU. So I'm going to start a new project, and I'll just call class for this demonstration purpose. As soon as I come in, you go in here. This walks you through the process, but I'm just going to go to my photo tab, and I have a photo collection here. I just hit Control-A, drag and drop it into here. I now have them in here. At this point, we want to run AT. So it's very simple. We have all our photos listed in here. ATs for arrow triangulation. It's basically going to calculate the location of the camera and the angle and position of it. So when I run through AT, I hit next. Now, I always keep the default settings. Most of the time, our software is reading the metadata that you have in your photos, and it knows what to connect here. So I'm just going to hit next, 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 submit. Now it does tell me that it's waiting to be processed because the engine's not running. That's where we now run this engine, and that'll run through. I apologize. I actually have two computers connected, so it picked up my other computer, which I don't want. So let me go through that process again. We have the ability to connect multiple computers to this. I was actually processing a very large job, so we can run it on multiple machines. This AT process is rather fast. All right. I apologize. I just ran this before the class, so I'm just going to go right into my previous one. I think it is still seeing my other computer. After we run AT, we have our 3D view, which is showing us the location. Now we have these things that we call splats, and basically we're creating automatic tie points, and where that tie point is, we're taking a chunk of the photo and putting it with it. So these are the automatic tie points, basically pixels that are seen from multiple camera positions. We put the splat on it to make it a little easier to tell. This process right here just took a matter of, we're gonna see here, 23 seconds to process this running the AT. Then I do the production, and this actually took 2 minutes and 11 seconds. When I run through the production, we see here's the camera position, and we can see the amount of detail that we have here. Now this is a mesh with a texture draped across it. I can hit the letter T to remove that texture, so we can actually see how much detail we really are getting from this. Some high flight photography, it may look this way, but when you turn the texture off, you won't see all the cracks and crevices in there. But this process can be done from photos and or LiDAR point cloud scanning. In this case, it's ground level. Somebody's walking around with a handheld camera. You could fly your drone. You could use your cell phone. Whatever methods you look at. I've even had people use weather balloons to tether their camera to it and take photos as they're walking through. So Any way you can get your camera up in the air is the process, and it's a two-step process. First, drag your photos into here. Next, run your AT and see your results. Make sure that it looks acceptable, that it's not broken in some way. We do have some reports in here that can actually tell you the quality and different connections. So you want to make sure that all your photos are seeing other photos in connection. We have very good reporting in here, which will guide you through the process. Now, we also have photo acquisition guides that come with the software in a doc folder, which tells you for flying drones and or ground photography, the best practice to use. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I don't know if that's a question, but Kurt, maybe you can go back to that mesh and just kind of, you know, talk a little about the mesh that you got there came from 19 photos, if I counted them right. Is that right?
Yes, and 19 extremely low resolution photos. I think they were 2 megapixel camera. It was very old, very small camera. As you saw, I ran this in 23 seconds and the whole process took 2 minutes. But even a low resolution camera, we're getting a lot of detail in there. And I actually do a lot of work now with just my iPhone, and I can see grains of sand and cracks in concrete just using my iPhone. So it's quite impressive. The other benefit is, you know, some people look at these things and say, well, I can go on Google Earth and see a 3D image, but you're not going to bring it into a CAD platform. We can actually export to many formats. So when we look in our productions, I'm going to show you, we have meshes. So when we go in to create a mesh, there's all these formats. Bentley works very nicely with a lot of the other products out there. So we have Autodesk FBX format. We read and write directly to FBX format. We write directly to DWG. I know somebody mentioned Esri in there. So we create an Esri scene database, which is that SPK file. I've done demos for Esri. They also have some photogrammetry software, but our software really is for the bigger projects, a lot more detail, entire cities, large areas, mixing LiDAR, photos, very large projects. You'll notice these are grayed out right now, and that's because there is no GPS position to this data set.
Well, Kurt, actually, you know, speaking of GPS, it looks like we got some folks that have typed in some questions here. So let me go ahead and read a couple of these off to you.
Yes, that would help me.
Sure. So the first question was, Kurt, we are in construction of a new school. Currently, they are laying in-ground plumbing. How can this help me model that for the plumbers who will be serving the school in the future? And maybe like about as-builts too.
Yes. So it's funny you mentioned this. My colleagues doing a school. It's an as-built that they just built, and the contractor had to do a 3D model of the school. So that's the easy part. Now what you're talking about, taking those utilities in there. Bentley does have a product called SCiDUC. It's part of our Open Roads Technology Subsurface Utility Design Engineer. And there's also SCiDUC subsurface utilities. But we have software that your first step would be to, if you have quality level D for the utilities, basically, you know, it's maybe 10 feet off a curb. We could take that, drape that along the surface. So the first step, I would take this model, do bare ground extraction where it cuts out the buildings, the trees, those kind of things, then take my utility lines, drape them on the surface. And then if I have that other data, whether it's quality level A, and we actually have survey points in the open trench that was done, we can incorporate that data as well. All this becomes into what we call the digital twin, the iModel twin, where you're able to bring all this data together, and your field guys could take a iPad and view this data right on their iPad.
Great. We got one more question here from Tim. After referencing production into MicroStation, is there a way to merge into master? I'm having trouble with the reference dropping.
Okay, so you're referencing a mesh in, is that correct?
Well, Tim, you might want to just.
Okay, so there's several ways that you can attach this mesh. So if you can attach it as a reference, but we also have a Reality Mesh dialog box that I would recommend using that to attach your mesh.
Okay.
If you're dropping it, one thing you're going to notice under the drop tool button, there's a checkbox that says like element, application element. And that's what this is. Basically, that element is linked to an application, which is ContextCapture. You should be able to drop it from there. Or another method would be when you produce your production, right directly in here, you can make a DGN. So if we see in here, I believe DGN is one of my options right here, Bentley DGN format. So you could just create the mesh right into a DGN mesh.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you, Tim. Go ahead.
Okay, so I see your DGN format there, and I was doing it the other way. I was referencing the 3MX.
Yep.
So the problem was that the reference kept on dropping when I tried to share the file with somebody else, or they opened up into the working folder. Maybe I can try the DGN file. But also another thing on LinkedIn that is when I was going through iPlot and trying to basically plot it out. Mostly it was a 2D image that we was doing some work on. I couldn't get nothing but it's more like a wireframe. It kept on turning out. Is there? I mean, I guess I was losing the mesh maybe.
So part of that could be in your view attribute, that your view attribute wasn't set. Also, if you're getting a mesh but without material, the material would have to be in the same location. But that's something you could actually send me an email, and I'd be happy to follow up with you to do a meeting where I could look at your screen and see what's going on.
That'd be great.
I also see somebody asked about ground control points. Yes, we can use ground control points, just like anybody would use them. You have your ground control points. We can work with RTK for your drones, give you real pinpoint accuracy of your drones. Software tree canopies. So when it comes to photogrammetry, it doesn't do a great job with tree canopies. So you have a large area. Now, we are able to supplement that. So you could do ground photography to get underneath your tree canopies. You could do a lower oblique grid or oblique orbits to capture underneath tree canopies. But if you're really looking for good bare ground underneath a tree canopy, that's where you would go to LiDAR, where you have multiple returns, and you would get some registrations through that point cloud, through the vegetation. But also in our new release 16 of ContextCapture, if sometimes you get these tree canopies that it's just a floating canopy and there's nothing underneath it, we can go in and remove that tree canopy, and then I would use something like Lumen RT to add new trees into it that actually move with the wind and change with the environment or the seasons.
That's a really cool feature. Do you want to just demonstrate that like super quick, the removing of an artifact in the model, just real quick? Because a lot of other software, it's more difficult.
Let me think the best way, because
if you're not set up for it, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's something that I know you mentioned to me.
Yeah, and there might be an issue on my side with the graphics card, but there's that release update 16 that he mentioned is brand new, and it's got a really cool feature in there. But we're working through it. It's okay. You can move on. It's all right.
No, that's okay. I'm actually I just pulled up a video that I was trying to see on my other screen, but. So here's where lassoing around. And there's other things, like it can find floating objects. So there's a tool you could grab, just pick one face on that mesh there, and it would select everything as it's attached. But this is a great way to clean up your trees, and then I would replace them with better trees.
Cool. Any other questions, guys, for Kurt while we have them?
This feature, we're just marking on faces, and it will actually find everything that's related to that face to remove that. But yes, any questions? Okay. Online training, it's very good. We have multiple things. So if you're one of our customers, we have the Online Learn Center, which has workshops and things like that. But we also have a YouTube channel, which is actually where I'm at with this. Whoops. If we come back here, it's we have the Bentley communities where you can find a lot of things, and then it goes into our YouTube channel, which is reality modeling. They have tutorials right here, step by step. There's actually 40 of them here, which tells you all kinds of things that you can do.
Scott, I will mention too that because you're a university, you don't have to go through SCiDUC to get the license. Bentley is very generous to universities about giving access to their software, so you can have your own your package.
Yeah, I got in touch with them a while back, and I'm filling out the application and running it through the university. But I just sent you an email.
Okay. Okay. Well, Kurt, would it be all right if maybe offline we'll maybe set up a date, but we could, maybe next month or, sometime after we can have maybe an hour time where the SCiDUC folks can, I have a couple of videos too that I can share just to kind of give them some basics, but to play around with the software, get their feet wet a little bit and, see what's up. And then maybe in, a month or so we can meet back and have like another Zoom call with those who kind of want to interested in more of a deeper dive. Would that work out okay with you?
Oh, that would be great with me. I look forward to the opportunity to everybody hit me with your questions. Just bring it on. If I don't have the answer, I have developers right in my back pocket and I'll get you the answers. My background is in civil engineering. I was CAD manager for 20 some years. Photogrammetry and LiDAR scanning is what I eat and breathe. So anything you guys want to talk about, suggestions, questions, anything, I'm here for you.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, I think that might be it for our agenda here. Let me go ahead and move this stuff out of the way. So again, Kurt, thank you very much. We'll be in touch and I'll share some information out with the group afterwards. But before we wrap up, everybody, is there any other new business or any other topics that that we should talk about before we wrap up for the quarter? Okay, well, hearing none, thanks guys for attending. I appreciate. Again, just kind of a reminder that if you do have any, if you have not formally joined SCiDUC, please do go ahead and click that link in the SCiDUC webpage. I'll show you here again. Go ahead and click join now. If you've already completed that survey, that goes out to subject matter experts. We got that data. You don't need to do it twice. And also, if you have contacts out there, state, local, city, county, whoever that you think would be interested in SCiDUC, please just send me a note. I promise we won't spam them, but just, just a little note saying, hey, look, this is who we are. We're going to meet in a month. Would you like to hear about us? And, that's all kind of good stuff. And then one more, if you are interested more in ContextCapture, send me a note on that also. And I'll get you set up and send you some instructions and a couple of videos and, get you on your way. And we'll be back in touch with, more a detailed webinar with Kurt, hopefully next month or so. So thanks everybody. Thanks for everything. And we'll see you again soon.